Welcome back in, everybody, to a Victory Overreaction Monday here on Birds 365 on JAKIB Sports. Joined now by Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports. Jeff, welcome to the show, man. How you doing? Birds win their 9th straight game yesterday, moved to 11-2 on the year, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows in the city of brotherly love. Jeff, how you doing on this Monday morning?
It's just typical Philadelphia.
Which is it though? The media cabal. We're sitting there at breakfast, you and I, talking about let's take this team down, or the passing game stinks. Which one is it?
Oh, it's passing game stinks, and you can blame the guy who who was causing some of the problems last year, and that's AJ Brown. And he has every right to be upset. He does, but to me, this is why Saquon Barkley's here. This is why this team brought back CJ Gardner-Johnson, brought guys like Saquon Barkley in here to get rid of these internal issues that still exist.
We're going, all right. I didn't know we were going there. I like that Jeff is going there. But now AJ was obviously upset, very short in his answers. When he said, what can the offense improve? I believe he said passing.
And he's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong.
He's definitely not wrong. I mean,
but definitely should have handled it better. I agree with that. But there are other people. You were with me when I was talking to Jordan Mailata. He admitted, hey, it ain't good, the passing game. Devontae admitted it, and the quarterback admitted it, by the way. With his cryptic quote, as always, Jalen gets a little bit more cryptic than most. Some things don't get you until it gets you. He was talking about the passing game. So, I mean, if even the quarterback acknowledged it, and by the way, the number of the gross passing yardage, because remember, Jalen had 108, which is pathetic enough, but you add the sacks into it, 83 gross passing with A.J. Brown, that offensive line, and Devontae Smith. Granted, no Dallas Goedert. So we'll give them some
against the Carolina Panthers.
Against the Carolina Panthers, who came in what in passing defense? I don't know. They were 30th or 31st in everything. I mean, this is, and people forget the week prior, I believe they threw for 118 yards in Baltimore and somehow won a football game.
You know why? They run the ball well and they don't turn it over.
Well, I agree, but you saw, here's the thing, Jeff. When you play that way, they're 11-2. They've proven they could win that way. But when you have, and Saquon had a very good game, but it wasn't one of his great games where he's near 200. He was 124. The defense was still solid, even though Cooper had some problems with Adam Thielen. Still solid overall. 302 yards, their worst performance, by the way, since the bye from a yardage standpoint. But when you look around the league, 302 is pretty good, comparing it to your peers.
And they were in Xavier Legette drop from
exactly.
They're being way different right now.
They're a Legette drop away from losing. That tells you how small the margin of error is when you play like that on a consistent basis. And Saquon's not going for 200. He's just having a normal good game. That's the problem. That's what they're trying to fix. Like, it shouldn't be this difficult to throw the football with what they have.
I agree. You have AJ Brown. And look, he has every right to complain about what he saw. I mean, there was a play where I think it was Hurts. He went in the flat to Dotson, and I think I noticed it right away. I'm like, AJ's open across the middle. Does he just not want to throw it because he's afraid to turn it over? Does he, like, this team all of a sudden does not throw the deep ball anymore?
No, it doesn't. It's very strange. There was another cryptic quote that Jalen said. I'm trying to, and I want to get, because I had to bail for the post-game show, and you were there. So I want to get your thoughts. Yeah, I want to get your thoughts on that. I'm trying to pull it up real quick. So here it is. I played my role in how we execute, but ultimately, this is Jalen Hurts again. It's about what position we put ourselves in. And here's the kicker. That's not my choice. Well, what did you take from that being in the room? Because I read it non-contextually, and I'm like, what the hell is this?
I mean, it seems Jalen's not happy with the role he has either.
That's how I took it. That's an indictment of Kellen Moore. Well, people will want to blame Nick. That's fine. That's an indictment of Nick and Kellen, right?
Yeah, but is that just escaping accountability? I mean, how many times have people broken down plays where there's receivers running open? I mean, I listen. I know people
I
playing the
definitely
route
think
concepts, but at what point do we look at the guy who holds the ball every single play?
This is my issue
I agree.
with being the quote unquote ultimate leader. And I do think Jalen Hurts is a leader. I think he's a guy they gravitate toward in that locker room. But this is what happens, though. You have to take accountability for yourself as well. And there's too much of this blame game with this guy. Like, it's always the coach. I'm like, well, guess what? I hate to tell you, buddy. You have a different offensive coordinator every year, whether it's at your choice or not.
Right.
So
also the weapons, Jeff. I mean, I mean,
you have AJ Brown, you have Devonta Smith. I know Dallas Goedert didn't play yesterday. You have Saquon freaking Barkley, who, in my mind, if he wins the rushing title, should be MVP. But Josh Allen will probably get it, even though he had 6 touchdowns and a loss yesterday.
That's pretty impressive, by the way.
It is impressive.
I don't think that was Josh Allen's fault.
No, it's not Josh Allen. Honestly, Josh Allen accumulated for 424.
Nobody's ever done that, right?
Yards.
Yeah.
Otto Graham did in the 1954 championship game.
Well, three rushing and 3. Oh, it must be modern era. Modern
era Allen did. But yeah, Graham did in the 54 championship game. I looked it up because I was curious. But
that's pretty impressive, though.
But yeah, look, though, you have this offensive line. Like, this offense shouldn't be struggling to put up points against the Carolina Panthers. And, Jalen's had his issues with Kellen all year. But, if you're this $51 million quarterback, I forget how much a guy gets paid anymore. Juan Soto gets paid more than him, I think, now.
Holy mackerel, that Juan Soto deal was insane, man.
Come on.
Jeff, I want to ask you
Juan Soto. Bad job, Juan Soto, going to a loser organization. Come on.
Yeah, agreed. And then apparently the Yankees gave him a big offer. What the hell, Juan?
Yeah.
Anyway, Jeff, I want to ask you about your I don't want to call it cryptic, but your somewhat cryptic comment when you first came on about internal issues. What are you seeing there? Like, well, what did you mean by that when you said AJ Brown and Saquon was here?
I didn't think you were going down that.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like, what did you mean by that? How do you see that? I'd like.
We had this stuff last year. This was part of it. This is part of the issues. The ball wasn't getting to the receivers, and it was brought up multiple times. And is this happening again, or are they just taking it public now? I don't know.
Where do people, for those, but I'll say this because, and I admit I like AJ personally, so
I do too.
I probably defend him.
I don't think he said anything wrong. I've been hard on AJ.
I don't think he was wrong
and some of that stuff, and I didn't like some of the locker room stuff. I had no issue with what he said yesterday.
Yeah, I don't agree with the way he handled it yesterday because I thought he was too short, which creates other issues, and people take it like I think his problem is he allows people to take things in a negative direction where he wouldn't have to if he handled things a little bit differently.
You mean just by explaining it a little more? Like
exactly.
And you know what's going to happen, John? You and I aren't going to hear from AJ Brown for weeks because that's what happened last year.
It did happen at one point, but he generally talks a little bit on the side, at least.
He does on Wednesdays. He does. I mean, but. That's not something I'm going to bring up to him.
No, it's off the record and you can't, but at least they'll keep you in the loop. At least certain people keep in the loop. So at least there's that. But in the case of, and I lost my train of thought, in the case of, the receivers, like for those who dislike AJ Brown for essentially, pointing out that he'd like the football occasionally. Is there a receiver who doesn't want the football? Like, where are you getting these receivers? Where are you getting these magic great receivers who don't want the football? Like, isn't that baked into it? Like, why do people have a problem? I think you should have a problem if the guy doesn't want the football. Yeah, that's when you should have the problem.
I agree completely. And the other part of it, I think that people are missing is because I put out a tweet yesterday that got a lot of pushback, and they're like, well, we have Saquon Barkley. He's on a historic pace, and I'm like, do you really believe that this organization is happy to sacrifice a passing game that's competent with two wide receivers that most teams would dream of having in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith to have a historic running back season? Like, it's great that Saquon's doing what they did, but do you think they'd rather have 1,800 yards from Saquon Barkley and a prolific pass? I do. I mean, seriously, we're talking about A.J. Brown, these are two top 10 receivers in one offense.
Okay, so this is one of my takes from everything around the league yesterday. I had to hear Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison saying, "Hey, we're coming for the best wide receiver duo in football."
Sam Darnold. Yeah, Justin Jefferson, I don't know, 130 something and 2 touchdowns. Addison was 130 something and 3 touchdowns.
I mean, they were incredible yesterday, and so was Darnold.
Yeah.
But
you have similar receivers to them. Now, I think Jefferson's the best receiver in football. Addison's very good. People don't realize it yet, but he's very good. They're right there with the Eagles. And they have TJ Hawkinson. So, now that he's back healthy,
and their defense is damn good, that Vikings defense.
Well, it's kind of falling apart, actually, late in the season. But
they are 11-2, though.
And they are 11-2. But offensively, just speaking offensively, Sam Darnold, I mean, it's Sam Darnold, and he looks like a superstar.
John, I said it yesterday on my overreactions piece. He's a top 10 quarterback, and I said,
I agree.
Reality, he is. If you look at the numbers, I probably
I'm at the point where they should flip freaking JJ McCarthy and keep him. That's what they should do.
I mean, where's Darnold going to go this all season? I would keep Darnold the way he's playing.
You can't let him walk out the door. No way.
They're going to let him walk out the door.
You think? I think they might be willing to move on from JJ.
Well, if they go to the Super Bowl, no. But other than that, and I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl. I think they're going to move on, and Sam's going to get paid a lot of money. He's going to go to a lesser situation, not look as good. It's going to be worse for both sides, but it's what it is.
Maybe it'll be like Baker Mayfield, though. It might work out for him. I mean, I think he's going to get a big bag of money.
I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's falling off the table, but he's not going to have that supporting cast elsewhere.
Can I ask you guys what do you think Sam Darnold would do with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and the top 5 and a top 2 offensive line and the best running back in football and a top 5 tight end? What would Sam Darnold do here?
I think I'll let Jeff answer, but I'll answer. I think we'd have an MVP, and it's not Saquon Barkley. Yeah, that's what I think would be happening.
I mean, I honestly think we'd have a guy right now who has 30 touchdown passes. He probably have the same passer rating he has right now in Minnesota, which is around 110. Like, I'm with John. I think we would have a quarterback who, look, the Eagles would be one of the best passing offenses in football, if not, and Saquon would be more of a luxury than a necessity.
And Kellen Moore would get to run all his traditional play action, all that. Yeah.
And this ain't a knock on Jalen either. I mean, Jalen wins a lot of games, but
I think it is a little bit of a knock on Jalen, though. I mean, like, I'm just trying to see, and I'm not even trying to pick on the quarterback, but you do have everything around you. And the passing game had 83 yards versus the Panthers. Like, are we seriously going to say A.J. Brown shouldn't have said that?
I'm just talking about the passing
A.J. Brown, though. He's like, I believe I'm the best wide receiver on planet Earth. I had 4 catches today for 38 yards, 40 yards.
And I agree with everything he said, but this is the competitor in me talking. This is the former player, the coach in me talking. Do you want to win a fucking championship or not?
Yeah, we got the app. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to win or not? Do you want to win a championship?
Jeff? Wouldn't you respond and say, and you think winning a championship is going to be easier without getting me involved? I'm the best wide receiver on planet Earth. Get me involved in the offense. It's for the betterment of the team.
He still can be involved. That's what – look, I'm looking at it this way. If we want to determine things by wins and losses, 45-19. That's it.
I agree, and it's even better since 2022. It's like 36-9 now. But
they have the second best.
Well, that's what is clouding this point. Like AJ and Devontae were fine when they were throwing for 220 yards. They're still, they still want the ball more. But AJ's on the sideline talking about Saquon's the best player in the world. They're all talking. They got the pictures up in the locker room. Our savior, blah blah blah. Everybody's on board. Just with 200 passing yards, still pretty ineffective.
Yeah.
83 though. 118. It was less. I don't know what the sacks were in Baltimore. I can pull it up, but
I think did he get sacked 4 times?
118 total yards per Jalen. 118 in Baltimore. 108. The gross because of the sacks yesterday was 83.
What I do think is changing with Jalen,
Gross
and I do think this is a good thing. I think either Jalen looked at it or someone else looked at it and told him, look, instead of forcing these throws when you're getting pressured, take the sack. I mean, I think Jalen internally figured out probably and look, I call him a turnover machine after week 4, and rightfully earned, but the guy has 2 giveaways.
But that ain't good. If that's what's going on, they're just trying to keep him from throwing. That ain't good.
They're trying to keep him from himself.
Yeah.
Is that part of what's happening? Have they coached the turnovers out of him so much to a point where he's now afraid to pull the trigger to not Jahan Dotson, Kerr?
Well, yeah, AJ Brown's wide open across the middle on that
trigger to AJ Brown. At this point, he's Mr. Automatic. I mean, he catches every ball you throw his way.
Jeff,
I will say this, though. A lot of his interception. Am I losing you guys?
No, you go ahead.
Frozen up a little bit, but you're good. I got you.
Okay, yeah. I thought I was losing you guys on my end. But yeah, this is how I'm looking at it. Personally, a lot of his interceptions were toward AJ Brown last year. He was targeting AJ Brown. He also has a one this year, though. He has a 130 passer rating targeting AJ Brown. So you're right, Zander. My thing is, I feel like the throws across the middle he avoids more now, but they're also the more turnover worthy throws. If you guys know where I'm getting this here, like you're more likely to throw a pick across the middle than you are going to the sideline. So that's why he went to Devonta Smith for the touchdown instead of taking that one over the middle of AJ Brown where he got rough. That's where I think AJ Brown really got frustrated. Like he took a hit and had nothing to show for it.
Well, I'm going to throw one number because you're our resident stat guy, 226, and I'll tell you why and a reason. How many quarterbacks in the NFL were above 226 passing yards yesterday? I don't know.
I'm going to go at least 15.
But quite a few. And that number is relevant because that's Jalen Hurts' number over 2 weeks. And just how many in 1 week? Yeah, Josh Allen. Everybody saw the Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford game. We've just mentioned Sam Darnold. Geno put up 30. Who else? Dolphins, Jets, 32-26. Bucks.
Aaron Rodgers finally threw for 300 yesterday. First time
Aaron Rodgers, Brock Purdy, on and on and on and on. I mean, why is this accepted? I didn't even know why this is a debate with some people. The fact that Saquon's season should have made this passing efficacy better.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Better.
The passing game should not be. What are they ranked now passing? It's got to be under 25th.
Well, they were
27th coming in. So
but Jeff, they're 28th. They were 28th. But here's the caveat. 29th was the Panthers, only averaging 1.6 yards less than the Eagles, and they obviously jumped them because they almost doubled their passing yards yesterday. So
and that's with Bryce Young being god awful before he got benched.
Yeah.
And
Bryce Young was better than Hurts yesterday, that's for sure. Bryce Young was throwing that ball around.
There's a lot of advanced stats that look better because the Eagles are the problem is they are getting worse as the season goes on. So people talk about they're bottom 5 in total passing, but yards per attempt were pretty good because they were striking down the field a little bit because of Saquon.
Yeah,
well, that's gone.
Yeah, Jalen led the league in yards per attempt since the bye week before Sunday.
Well, that's gone into the tank over the past 2 weeks. I mean, yesterday it was even. It's 5 yards per attempt.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's not up in the near 8 where it had been.
I got a little annoyed this morning when I went on X, and it wasn't from anybody Eagles related. Do you know? Apparently, according to the Panthers writers and fans, they broke the Eagles. I didn't know you. I didn't know you could do that when you
said that,
lose.
Mike K. Who said that?
And no, it wasn't Mike K. I didn't see anything Mike K tweeted.
Well, I'm not going to go that far, but here's what I will say. Did they put out potentially a blueprint to, if you know Saquon Barkley's going to have a big day, right? It's almost unblockable at this point because the offensive line is what they are, and Saquon.
By the way, Zander,
did they put out a blueprint though? The Eagles Saquon, you can have your yards. You can do what you want to do. We're going to keep the game close. Did they put out a blueprint for how to play the Eagles with allowing them to have their 200-plus running yards like they did yesterday?
Well, I think the Ravens had that blueprint.
Yeah, but the Ravens couldn't capitalize for shit. The Panthers capitalized better than the Ravens did.
They did, but I think Jeff's right from a defensive standpoint. I think the Ravens. I think people are copying the Ravens. Well, I think that's.
You're saying the Panthers took what the Ravens did.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's what I meant. The Ravens did it last week, changing some things up. It was just the Panthers said, okay, yeah, we don't have the personnel the Ravens do, but we still think we can keep this game close, to your point.
Yeah. And, let's be honest. If the Ravens, you have to give the Eagles defense credit for that one. If that were a typical Ravens performance offensively, they win that game. Probably.
The Ravens scored 30.
Yeah, probably pretty significantly. So, yeah, I think people are looking at that Ravens game and saying, all right, we can do some things and try to stop, limit. I always compare it to the NBA. Certain scores are going to get 25. Just don't let them get 45. And make sure they work for that 25.
Unless you're the Wizards and let Jokic score 50, 10, and they still win.
Yeah. But, certain guys are going to score. And you try to make them work hard. Two things. Make them work hard to do it and limit it so they don't have the big 50-point game, which is 200 for Saquon, essentially. That's a 50-point game. And the Panthers were able to do that yesterday. And they were in the game and should have won the game. Maybe the Eagles would have gotten it back with 42 seconds and 3 timeouts. So maybe they can go down. But again, you got a field goal kicker struggling.
He was 0 for 5 on 54.
Yeah.
By the way, that went I know it was noticed, but it kind of felt like it was on the back burner because
we talked about it. I don't like it from this perspective. We'll go down that route because I want to get your thoughts. The Eagles went against their grain of being aggressive and they played it safe.
Yeah.
I don't like that long term.
They punted.
Yeah. I don't like that. And you could argue, you say it worked. Did it? Because a legged catch is a pretty simple ball. Like we just talked about Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. You think they're dropping that ball?
No.
Which, by the way, brings up another point of that would have had Leggett caught that pass, that would have been the cap to a 98-yard drive for the win. And I'm not saying this to criticize
what?
the
Did
defense.
that drive start under 2 minutes? That's what I
No,
rewatched.
that started right over
little
2
bit
minutes.
over,
a little over 2 minutes.
two.
But
They had no timeouts, but they had the 2-minute warning. So.
But they did start the 2-yard line. That would have been a 98-yard drive. And I'm not saying this to criticize the defense, but it shows you that they're not indestructible. Like they can be beat. Bryce Young nearly went 98 yards in 2 minutes. To sit here and rely as a team entirely on that, I think is foolish.
Dave Canales is a magician with what he's done with Bryce Young this year. Bryce Young actually looks like a half-decent NFL player.
He needs some more weapons too, Bryce Young. I mean, look, I know Adam Thielen's great.
Well, Adam Thielen's your best weapon. I mean, I love Adam, but he's 34.
Exactly. I mean, and that Leggett, I think he was supposed to be pretty good. He didn't look too good to me yesterday. I know he got open a couple times.
He was a first-round pick, so he'll always be a first-round pick, but most people didn't have him graded as a first-round pick.
Yeah, he doesn't have the greatest hands.
Carolina's not exactly the most I'll put it nicely, the smartest organization.
Yeah. David Tepper. Yeah. I mean, and part of it is just human nature. Like we talked about all week, It's human nature to play down a little bit. You think it's going to be a day off, and
Do
all
you
of a
think
sudden
they
you're in.
played down though? I didn't sense they played down.
I think they played down. I mean, how do you throw for 83 yards against the 30?
I just think the NFL it's a lot closer gap between
Oh, I
I
agree
11,
with
don't know.
that.
I
3, and
don't know
9,
if they
11.
played down either. They didn't throw the ball well against the Ravens either. Like, I'm at a point now where did they play down or can they just not throw the ball well?
Yeah, well, maybe that's the
That's
problem.
why I think the passing game's a concern. We've seen this back to back, like what John said, 226 in back to back week. I think Brock Purdy threw for 226 and a half yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. The defense gave up 16 points. I mean, we've become spoiled with the defense. They gave up 300 yards and 16 points. That's not a bad day in the modern NFL. Saquon Barkley in the running game, he had 124 yards, and the rest of the crew combined got him over 200 yards. Like
they
I don't really
ran
think
for
they played
200
down. I just think they couldn't pass the ball again.
Well, I will say I say every week, all NFL teams have good players. I was impressed by Chuba Hubbard. I think
he's a good player.
Good player.
He's a great player. He was impressive.
Thielen's still good at his age, and Nick Sirianni knows. I mean, I remember talking to rookie camp when tryout players. I asked him a throwaway question about tryout players, like how do you you got a short window. How do you figure out if somebody may have something for you? And he said, "Don't miss Thielen." That was his set. It's like, just don't miss Adam Thielen.
That's the poster child for those types of players.
Yeah, and he brought it up out of nowhere. That's how much respect that guy. And he talked about him again last night. He has so much respect for him. He's the best route runner in the NFL. He still is. I think Cooper DeJean's going to learn from that. But so Hubbard, their offensive line is damn good too. People don't realize
they paid a lot of money for Robert Hunt, and Robert Hunt is doing the job.
Yeah, both of their guards are good. Both of their tackles are good. Their center
they spent a ton of money on that offensive line this offseason for Bryce Young.
And I said this last week that's a team, and I'll alert you, Jeff. That's a team that could turn it around quickly.
I believe
just
so.
Of the offensive line.
So I'm going to point this out. I meant to point it out earlier. Like, this is why I was trying to tell people, like, look, don't be fooled by I'm not a gambler, but I see a 14-point spread, and I said, well, take Carolina. Well, why do I say that? Well, look, Carolina should have beat Tampa Bay last week. They should have beat Kansas City 2 weeks ago. This has been trending. They're just not finishing.
Right.
But they've been in these games. Like, yeah, they're 3-10, but they could easily say to themselves, we could be 6-7 right now. And in the thick of this god-awful NFC South.
And that's a crappy division. So you see every year in this league, worst to first. They might be the worst to first next year. If they make good decisions.
Right. They got to put some talent. They got to put some more talent around.
I mean, look at the Falcons.
In fact, it looked to me like that offensive line kind of manhandled the Eagles' D line.
That offensive line is good.
It's a good offensive line, like what John said. It's I can never pronounce his name, John. You know what I'm talking about. Aquano. Yeah. The left tackle. He's been a good player for them. He was one of their first-round picks. It took him a while, but it always takes first round.
Moton's the other tackle. He's a good player.
Yeah.
Hunt's a good player.
I think Bozeman's on that team too. I think he's hurt.
Austin Corbett's sort of he's the center.
Because I think Bozeman got hurt. But
he's kind of okay. Everybody else is really good. Really good. Even Brady Christensen is their sixth man. He's good because he had to play a little bit when somebody got hurt at tackle. So they even have depth on the offense.
You know where they got depth at too? Where it's slowly developed tight end.
Yeah, I mean, I've always liked Tommy Tremble, but
Jatavian Sanders has been. I know before the injury, but he was quietly getting up there.
Yeah, and they ran that rub route. I love people with rub routes. Every team in the NFL runs them. And people just get incensed when they call it, don't call it. NFL's got to do something with that. Because, I mean, all these innovative offensive coordinators, they run the same damn thing. Rub route. It's
motion. Everybody uses motion.
And people just get incensed when they throw the flag, when they don't throw the flag. Oh, they did throw the flag here. They didn't throw the flag there. Yeah, it's a crapshoot. Live with it. It's what it is. But don't make it obvious. It's about savviness. And as long as you don't make it obvious, you can pick people to death. But the minute you hit them, they're going to throw the flag. That's it.
Hey,
Accept
John,
it.
were you trying not to laugh when Milana was laughing about, complaining about running for 200 yards?
Oh, I love the guy.
He said he feels like an idiot. I'm like, he saw me kind of
Yeah.
chuckle. Like,
He first of all, he dropped about 50 shit bombs, and then
that was awesome.
And he felt like he said, "I feel stupid because we win basically every game." But he was complaining about the passing game. Everybody, it's like people think it's us. The whole locker room was complaining.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was just suddenly brought up. Like they were bringing it up themselves before we even go in that round.
Yeah.
Certainly. I mean, I know they won the game, but it certainly wasn't one of those games where you go in the locker room and start celebrating and shit like that. Like they've been doing.
The music was not blasting yesterday.
I'm not surprised there. Jeff, a couple other things in the game I want to talk to you about. I know obviously the passing game is the lead story here, but Jake Elliott, what's going on, Jeff? What do you do about it? I mean, you get late in the year. John pointed out they changed their philosophy to go away from it because they lost that much confidence, whether they admit that or not. That's what happened.
No, actions speak louder than words.
And right, 100%. Where are you with Jake Elliott? What did they do?
Yeah, boy, the wind was bad yesterday. The wind was bad. Yeah.
It was, what was it, 50 degrees out yesterday?
Yeah.
John, it felt nice out yesterday.
Beautiful day out yesterday.
It was really nice.
I mean, I wrote about this with Justin Tucker last week. You just got to stick with the guy, right? Like, what else?
I would imagine. I don't think they're going to move off him, but I mean, if you're in the playoffs and you have no hope that your kicker can hit from 50 plus, that becomes a bigger problem because those are more important late in the year when you need points. Points are a premium. I mean, they didn't believe in him to make a 54-yard, not a 60-yarder, not a 62-yarder, a 54-yarder.
Zander, is it a hot take for me to say I'm more worried about Jake Elliott kicking 50-yard field goals than I am the passing game?
Yes, I would say that's probably too much.
I mean,
I'm more worried about the passing game.
I mean, I was shocked though. Like they passed on that. I'm like, wait a minute, what are we doing here? Like
they're playing like 1970s football. And many of the fans probably loved it.
But it's funny though. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You do win games playing that way. I hate to admit.
I disagree. Depending on if you're a good team like Detroit, like Philadelphia, they won far more games being aggressive than being non-aggressive.
I'll just say this, and I know the Falcons didn't make the playoffs a couple of years ago, but the year before they got Bijan, all of a sudden they started winning football games when they decided, you know what, we have really good offensive line. We're going to run the ball with Tyler Algier, and we're just going to see what happens. And they started winning a couple games. And
they got two really good running backs.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, but
Dude,
Jeff,
you had the quarterback is 36 coming off an Achilles injury.
Yeah, I mean, well, Atlanta's falling apart. Probably because of Kirk. It's certainly not because of Bijan or Algier.
Or Drake London or their defense.
Mooney. Their defense. Did you see the guy fall down on the Jefferson play? That was pathetic. But I mean, look. Yes, you can run the ball. Bijan, the Eagles have proved it. They're 11-2. Maybe Atlanta's a better indication of that because they both ran the ball well yesterday. They lost by what?
Yeah, but is Atlanta a true Super Bowl contender? Look at the true Super Bowl contenders.
That's the point. They lost by.
Yeah, but the point is they run the ball great. Detroit runs the ball great. They still have a great passing game. The Ravens run the ball exceptionally well. Derrick Henry's like 100 yards behind Saquon for crying out loud. They have a great passing game.
Lamar is
great running attack.
Lamar's leading the NFL in a lot of passing statistics. People don't realize that, but
I know. And think about how good this offense. Think about how unbeatable this team would be if they figured out how to throw the ball effectively. Like these other teams are running the ball at near the rate that the Eagles are, close to it, not there, but close to it, and they have top 5 passing games. We're bottom, Jeff. Let me read you the list of teams that we're grouped with when it comes to passing. And this is not a group you want to be in. Patriots, Giants, Titans, Panthers, Eagles. That's the bottom 5 passing teams.
This is my take on this stuff. Would you rather be the Green Bay Packers have everybody tell you how wonderful you are and how wonderful your quarterback is, but you can't beat anybody that's any good because your quarterback turns the football over more often than not? Or would you like to win football games?
Listen, the Packers got a good playoff win last year. I think that's a team that's
That was
more
last year. This year, 0-2 against the Lions, 0-1
Yeah.
against the Vikings, 0-1 against the Eagles. Oh, and by the way, the Eagles had to go to another country to kick their ass.
But don't you think that team is built a little bit better for playoff success? And I'm not arguing your point. You're right. What you're saying
Are
makes
they
sense to me,
though?
but
Are they? Like
I
they
don't know.
can't
I
beat-
mean, I think when you get to the playoffs and the margin of error is smaller and the
Okay,
team,
so when the
you know-
Green Bay Packers play a good football team, they can't beat them. That's my take on it. It's
right,
basic.
this year you're not wrong. I would say last year in the playoffs, obviously they were more successful in the playoffs than we were last year. But you might be right. I mean, that's a fair pushback.
I mean, look, it's the way Jordan Love plays. Yeah, he can make all the throws, but there's always
would you rather have the guy who can make all the throws and teach him to be a little bit less reckless than the guy who's putting up 83 yards of passing yardage and is maybe protecting the football to a fault? I think that's
he's
the
definitely
question.
our quarterback is definitely protecting the football.
I want the guy with the arm talent. That's what I want.
I want the guy who doesn't turn the ball over either.
A lot of guys. It's really easy to find somebody not to do anything.
I always say I know Lamar's way different. He's on a different stratosphere than Hurts, but there's a reason why.
I don't know. To me, it's far easier to teach ball security than it is to teach arm.
But no one seems to know how to do that.
I don't think you can teach arm talent. Well, part of it's baked into the fact that, look, you're supposed to stress the opposing defense. Occasionally, to get explosive plays, Nick talks about winning the double positive every week. The one thing, for all the stats and all the bullshit that everybody throws out there, the two stats that matter most are the turnover ratio and the explosive play battle. If you win those two categories, you're going to win. It's outrageous. Like 98.
Eagles are all of a sudden +4 in turnover margin now.
98% of the games. It's outrageous.
You know what, John?
That's not just the Eagles. That's everybody.
No, John, this goes back to opinion, too, on what you want your quarterback to be. Like, because I think Josh Allen is right now probably the best football player in the world, and he turns the football over like crazy, but I've also seen him not turn the football over and lose football games.
Yeah,
multiple times.
And also people blame, like, he didn't lose 13 seconds. He didn't lose that game.
No, that's the game I'm pointing at.
He carried that team to what should have been a victory, and his coach let him down.
The guy had 6 touchdowns yesterday and lost.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Well, it's good to have it's nice to have a good team around him. Josh Allen is a great player, probably the MVP of the league this year, but he doesn't have a team like the Eagles do.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't have nowhere near the skill position.
It's not even on the same.
He's got Matt Collins. What are you saying, man?
I mean,
by the way, he also did not have Dalton Kincaid and or Keon Coleman come back. I don't remember him.
I don't know if he was back yesterday.
But I mean, he didn't have Kincaid and Coleman for weeks.
I'm looking forward to watching the condensed version of that game. That's probably the one I'm most looking forward to see when I get to it later in the week. Rams Bills. That was a shootout.
Yeah, I was on the post-game show, but I had it on in the studio. I was peeking up at it. That was a crazy game.
And then you have Chiefs Chargers, which is basically the exact opposite.
Chiefs win, though.
Chiefs are amazing too. They're the AFC version of how do they win these games? But they win them.
You know, it's funny what Jim Harbaugh has changed Justin Herbert into. He's like a game manager.
Yeah. Well, I don't agree with that. Jim wins a lot of games, so not recently, but yeah, I don't agree with his philosophies.
Jeff, last thing I want to ask you before we let you out of here. Cooper DeJean had his welcome to the NFL moment yesterday.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, he got beat up a little bit by Adam Thielen, the old salty veteran. Who showed him the ropes.
The wily veteran, I call him.
Yeah, what'd you think of that? Cooper DeJean kind of getting welcome to the NFL. Probably his first game where you really saw, him get beat up a little bit.
I was kind of laughing yesterday to myself about, and Adam Thielen could be in the NFL 5 years from now because he's such a good route runner. Not bad for a guy. John, you know the school he went to?
Yeah, Minnesota State,
Yeah,
the old
Minnesota. Yeah,
Mankato
and
State.
no, Hayden Fox did not coach that school.
Yeah, used to be Mankato State back in the day. Yeah, he was a true tryout player. He was didn't get invited to the combine. Played at a low level, obviously. That's why. So they have those regional combines. Ran like a 4.42 40. He's like 6'2". I don't think people realize. As I said, tremendous. Got on the NFL's radar. Was a tryout player. Like, you have your rookie camp with your draft picks and undrafted free agents. He wasn't even an undrafted. He had to go try out. Caught the eye, slowly developed from great special teams player, and all of a sudden they put him on the field as a receiver, and they were like, "Oh shit, this guy can play," and he's never left it. Turned into a best route runner I've ever seen, ever. It go on YouTube and search Adam Thielen routes. It will spin your head. The things he does, and Cooper learned about it. And I think it's only going to help him. I really do.
Yeah, that's pretty much the guy you want to teach you how to play slot quarterback in the NFL. The hard way, but that's pretty much the guy you want.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be too upset about Cooper's performance as well. You're not going to get that. You're not going to get that replicated the rest of the year.
Yeah, and you know what? Cooper's a cornerback. Cornerbacks are going to have bad games at some point. They just are.
Yeah. No, I'm not picking on Coop, but it was good.
No. I don't think anybody is.
No. I mean, listen, you get beat up by a veteran like that. All right, Jeff. Any other final thoughts before we let you go, brother?
Look, I kind of put out my points, Andrew. Like, I'm concerned about the passing game too, but
you're more concerned about Jake Elliott.
Yeah, I am actually. but 23 touchdowns to 2 giveaways, and you won 9 in a row. I don't know.
At what expense, Jeff? At what expense? I'll take a few more turnovers to be a little bit more explosive in the
I'm just saying he turned the ball over earlier in the year and they lost.
They lost without AJ Brown. I think people forget that. Three of those 4.
They are 10-0 when AJ played.
It just feels crazy to talk myself into believing it's good that you've now we've minimized the quarterback and we don't even want him throwing the ball.
That is amazing. How is that a good thing? When we're talking all off season about this passing offense evolving with the great Kellen Moore.
And now it's like we can't throw because we don't want to turnover. Yeah. We're reaching a new level. We're moving the bar.
The problem is though, when you spend weeks and weeks and weeks, and I was one of them complaining about him turning the ball over, and this is why they're losing football games. How he's not and they're winning. I don't know. This is where I kind of believe that Jalen Hurts isn't winning is the only thing, the main thing. I know it's a bunch of stoic.
Keep the main thing. They do win football games. I do give them credit to that.
But I will say
they won football games last year too. I mean, that's your record is great though until you get bounced in the first round of the playoffs, and then Philadelphia. All the people in here who tell me I'm crazy for criticizing the passing attack will be the first ones jumping and say, "Get rid of this guy. We need to be better." So the record.
Well, I started with it. I'll end with it. Jalen Hurts' own words. Some things don't get you until it gets you.
And look, this is where actions always speak louder than words, but Jalen uses his words pretty well. But I'm just going to say this. I'm not speaking for, and I mentioned this at the beginning. This is why you brought in C.J. Gardner-Johnson back. This is why you brought him back. This is why Saquon's here. I guarantee you someone will say something to A.J. Brown this week.
Really?
I'll tell you what I would tell him. I would say,
"Hey man, sit your ass down. I'm making $30 million."
As a former captain of a football team,
get me to fucking football.
As a former captain of a football team, you know what I would tell him today? Shut the F up. This is the pros.
I don't think anybody's upset with AJ Brown.
And he's right, but just because
I don't think anybody's talking to AJ Brown. I think everybody knows he's right.
Yeah, this is what I always say. Just because you're right doesn't mean it needs to be said.
That's fair. I'm okay with that. All right, Jeff, we got to run, man. Thank you for joining in. We appreciate it. As always, the extended time you spend with us. We'll talk to you again next week. All right, brother?
Yeah, sounds great, guys.
Thanks, bud.
Thank you, Jeff. Big thanks to Jeff Kerr for joining the show. Make sure you guys give Jeff a follow on Twitter at Jeff Kerr CBS. He is a great follow on Twitter. Jeff puts out a lot of good tweets on Twitter, or on X, whatever you want to call it. So go and check him out over there. We'll get to our next commercial break here. We got Chris Franklin coming up, but I do want to read a couple super chats here. Johnny Mac, before I do that, what'd you think of Kerr's spin? He doesn't seem too. I don't know. He doesn't seem
he's not
too
worried. Well, he's a big Saquon guy, so he's fine with Saquon carrying the mantle across the finish line. And Saquon's having a historic season, but I think you saw, even if you default to that, why isn't the passing game better?
Right.
It should be better. It should be better than it was before Saquon, because everybody's worried about stopping Saquon. I don't know why this is even a debate. Like, the passing game should be better. Period. That's all we're saying.
Yeah. I mean, I love Saquon too, and I love the wreck. But would you sacrifice the historic season and get down to maybe 1,800 yards projected?
I would.
Right. I mean, look, Eagles fans love to compare us to Detroit. I mean, we're better than Detroit, and some people think we're not. Some people think we're. That's great. Whatever you think is fine. But if you want to compare yourself to that team, compare yourself to that team. Their running attack is, with both of their backs, is about as good as ours. They have a similar amount of yards and way more carries between the two of those guys than what Saquon Barkley has. They also have a top passing offense in the NFL with Jared Goff. He's throwing for almost 30 touchdowns. I mean, they're moving the ball in the air too. They're doing both. We are not. Who's the more versatile football team, more suited for playoff success? Eagles fans want to tell you it's the Eagles. I believe it's the Eagles, maybe. After that game, maybe not.
Well, I think when Detroit's healthy, I've said from day, that's the best team in football. When they're healthy, but they're not healthy defensively. So that shortens the gap. Attrition is a big part of it. And we'll see where they get and how many players they get back. They're going to get McNeil back, Branch, all these guys. But for the most part, except for Hutchinson. And then, to me, they're the best team in football. And number 2 ain't close when they're healthy. But yeah, you're right. I mean, offensively, it should be Lions, Eagles, Lions. Maybe you throw Minnesota in there because of their skill position.
They're getting up there, John. They're earning their way. I know we were. Someone had some doubts early in the year. That team has proven enough.
Yeah. Well, their skill position people are outrageous as well. The issue, their interior offensive line is not as good. So that's the one hiccup that they have that Detroit and the Eagles don't. So that might be the thing that bites them. But skill position people, they're as good as anybody. And they're performing. And they run the ball with Aaron Jones, and not as effectively, but still effectively to win games in their passing offense. So if you look, and even Green Bay, if you want to take it down to Green Bay, I know Jeff doesn't like Green Bay. That's their offense is, they run the ball with Jacobs. They throw the ball. I mean,
I think that's an offense that's more suited for playoff success. I don't give a shit what we're ranked right now. I that's just what I believe.
I don't know how you cannot believe that, to be honest.
I don't know, John. Not everybody does. Ham Solo checks in. I feel like Hurts is too short to see properly. I don't know. That is a big offensive line, but doesn't look like that's the issue.
He didn't shrink. He's had success.
Edward L checks in. Yeah, we got to move because I got Chris coming up. Edward L said, glad some sanity here. Passing game is the issue, not AJ being frustrated. We're all moaning about it. What else is he supposed to say? Yeah,
but those people that complain about AJ Brown are acting like he's the only one who brought it up.
I know everybody brought it up yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, why is everybody on AJ? I said I think he could have handled it better. I agree with that part of it. I think by being short, he creates, those avenues for those weirdos to go down.
Yeah, well, maybe AJ wanted to do that. Maybe AJ wanted to create some discourse around this because it does need to get fixed. And if they don't get it fixed, the team is doomed. And maybe as a leader, that was his thought process. Is that fair to
maybe? I I generally default to it because I like him, as I said, but I'm not going to go that far that he's an evil genius. But I give you credit if it
Well, I
is.
just
It's
think sometimes
phenomenal.
leaders have to do things that not everybody understands, even if when it's for the betterment of the overall team. And
Well,
maybe that's what
I
AJ's trying
agree
to
with
do.
that, but that's to me, it's not his place either way. So that's the head coach's place and the offensive coordinator. They have to fix it. They're trying to fix it. They know they have to fix it. Um, the problem is they're in this Sophie's choice of we're trying to win games to keep up with Detroit versus fix this passing game. And you really can't. You can do all the things you want to do in practice that you want. You really got to do it in games. And right now they don't have this was the opportunity to try it in the game, and it didn't work if they were trying it. I don't know how you do it at this stage. Kind of is what it is at this stage. You almost have to lean into what you are and cross your fingers.
Yeah, I agree.
But you got to get a little bit better. You got to get that 108 back up to 200 or
A little
210.
bit better. I feel like it needs to get a lot better. We have
Well, I
AJ
just
Brown and
need to.
Devontae Smith. We don't have Jalen Rager and Travis Fulgham.
Well, what I'm saying, it's pretty clear you're not going to have a 5-touchdown Sam Darnold day
No, you're
yesterday.
not.
You're
I'm not
not going to
asking for
have a
that.
Josh Allen 6-touchdown day and a losing. You're not going to have that. So I'm just trying to get back up to where, 83 becomes 200 plus, and then you could win the way they've been doing somewhat consistently. And then you just got to cross your fingers on a particular game day, whether it's Detroit or Minnesota or Green Bay doesn't have one of those offensive explosions. And that's where the defense comes in and big comes in.
Hopefully they can hold and be perfect. Josh Herman checks in. Try to hustle the 49ers and trade Hurts for Purdy. Not happening, Josh. Let's go to Caleb here. Caleb, I will get to all the super chats. Brian, I'll get to you. F-Body, I'll get to you. Caleb says the pass game should be better, but it shouldn't be like last year either. When we were 10-1, we were out of rhythm. We need to find the middle ground. I think
They're
that's
not.
fair.
They're pretty freaking out of rhythm now in the past game.
Yeah, they're so out of rhythm.
Maybe it wasn't Brian Johnson's fault.
Caleb Brandon also said, AJ's right. I think the whole team knows, including number one. Yeah, as evidenced by the post-game comments.
He said it.
Yeah, he said it literally.
Jordan said it.
People were mad at me on Twitter because I put up the list of the bottom 5 pass teams in there, and I'm like, dude, AJ Brown told you he's upset about it. Jalen Hurts told you it's a problem. Nick Sirianni said it's a problem. Jordan Mailata. Don't get mad at me. I mean, shit. F-Body Guy says, do you think coaching is trying to overcorrect for the forced throw turnovers earlier in the year has caused Hurts to be gun shy? Seems conservative.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. He might be. He certainly, you had that deep shot to AJ Brown. It's like, why aren't you throwing this early in the game? I don't. Yeah, he seems very cognizant of ball security. I think the Eagles overreacted. It's hard. They haven't lost a game since the bye week, so it's hard to say this, but I'm going to say it. I think they overreacted at the bye week by scaling back the offense so much, and turning into this 1975 team that can't throw the football at all somehow with AJ Brown, and that shouldn't be possible. But that's where they are, and I think they overreacted to a 2-2 start, which again they didn't play 3 of those games without AJ Brown. I think they overreacted. But they are where they are now, and they keep winning games. So until they do lose a game, and it might even help in the long run to lose a game, to be honest, to lose this game to Pittsburgh might even help. Say, all right, we're beatable. We gotta get this thing back to being more balanced and more well-rounded.
Brian says the all-want turnovers are so sacks. MF for how about neither? Asking for a competent QB is apparently too much, setting the bar so low. And then he says Jalen Hurts is the Avante Maddox of quarterbacks, underrated, and now he's ass. Holy shit!
Oh man, Brian always goes too far. It's not
Pumper's
the
taking a victory lap today, though, because he was talking shit. And, Jalen didn't have his best game there, Johnny Mac.
No, he did not. He did
No.
not. All
All
right.
right, let's get to our break here. We got to get to Chris Frank. And Chris, sorry to keep you waiting, man. All these super chats we had to get to. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Hit that like button. We appreciate you all for being here this morning on this Victory Monday, Victory Overreaction Monday. A lot to talk about, so thanks for being here. Let's get to our commercial break. Before I do that, I want to tell you guys about the great people at BetUS. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. And use the promo code YouTube150. Gives you a 150% sign-up bonus on your very first deposit, and you get 125% on your second and third deposit. So deposit less and bet with more at BetUS. Go to betus.com.pa and use that promo code. We'll be back in 3 minutes, everybody, on Birds 365.